Onward toward Kirby Stephen. She is unaware of her might, delighted as she is by the company and careless in that delight. Like a kitten toying with a butterfly, she has no understanding of delicacy, the fragility of flesh and bone. At Stencrith Falls she whirls him through the gorge in a froth of excitement, a wild ride, snapping bites from the rock over which she roils. Though his slack limbs flail to her rhythm, he fails to laugh. She gathers him closer, binding him, shrouding him, over and colder. Under a shot-down moon, reflected back from the rippled surface of his grave. Chapter 3. Afterwards, he couldn't remember the rest of the drive home. On some level he'd registered that it passed without further incident. He steered and braked, changed gear, accelerated when the road ahead dictated, and he knew, had he been stopped, they would have taken one look and demanded he give a sample, just to find out what else was in his blood. As his vision was hemmed in by the reach of the car's lights, so his mind felt cornered, tucked in tight and hiding from the horror and the shame of what he'd done. It railed against reality, denied it, and wove a different tale. He recognized, dimly, that what he should have done was step up for it, call it in and wait, stalwart, for the lights and uniforms to arrive, for suspicion and interrogations. But somewhere at the back of his brain, the part that coiled and slithered with all the baser instincts, a primeval will to survive kicked in. It flooded his system with adrenaline, pushed into his bloodstream so hard it made his temples pound. He couldn't stop his hands from shaking, no matter how hard he clenched his fingers around the steering wheel, or how much he tried forcing himself to adopt a coolly logical approach. He knew there were no obvious signs of collision on the car. He'd had his wits about him enough to check back there on the road. Bit of a scuff on the bumper, but nothing that would stand out. Certainly not on the grainy footage of the traffic cameras before he got back home. Not that there were many between here and there. He'd put on gloves before he touched anything. Always kept disposable ones in the glove box in case they ran out at the diesel pump. The ground was too dry to take impressions of his shoes. There might have been a bit of a skid mark when he anchored on, but the gritty surface of the road, half crumbling, wouldn't yield much by way of a tread pattern. Besides, his tyres were a common brand, in an equally common size. The steel band around his skull began to ease a little. By the time he hit the motorway and turned north, the worst of his initial panic had subsided. As long as he didn't examine it too closely, it would remain beneath the surface, for now, at any rate. He rehearsed what he'd say when asked how his evening had gone. "Very pleasant as it goes. Nice to catch up. Shame I couldn't have stayed over. Perhaps had something to drink." And that set him spinning off again through weakness, disaster, guilt, despair. Or not. Not if they didn't catch him. Not if they didn't even suspect for a moment that he was involved. And especially not if they couldn't prove anything. Before he knew it, he'd passed the first countdown marker for his junction. He flicked his indicator on, even though his was the lone vehicle on this side of the carriageway, realized as he did so that such an action marked him out as trying just a little too hard. He cancelled it. From there it was but a few minutes to home, rolling through empty streets without needing to pause. He was steadier now, lent a certain perspective by distance, if nothing else. He hit the remote for the electric garage door when he was halfway along his cul-de-sac, knowing that he'd just be pulling into the driveway as it reached the height of its travel, straight in without the need to brake. Normally, such slick timing gave him a sense of satisfaction. Tonight, that was strangely absent. When he'd lowered the door again behind him, he sat for a moment with the car ticking over, as if he contemplated
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.